Today we're diving deep into the world of real estate, but with a twist. We all know real estate involves big decisions, big investments, but how do we often think about the legal side? Many people have questions but just can't afford the legal fees or don't have access to a lawyer. That's why today we'll be getting answers to some of those burning questions for you. Joining us is a special guest. You'll get to meet her in a bit. She's a seasoned lawyer in real estate. She's here to help us navigate the legal's ins and outs. Let's welcome Barrister Yewande Deji Omotayo. You're welcome to my little space.
Thank you for having me. I must say that you're doing awesomely well. I watch your videos and I love what I see.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So today we want to ask you a lot of questions that people don't think about before they buy a property, be it land, be it a house, but they're just lost, and most times they lose their savings, they lose their money. Basically, please explain to us what an individual or a corporate organization would need. I have some questions lined up from various people, what they would need to do before they buy a property. What is the legal process in buying a property in Nigeria?
Thank you. The legal process involves, more than 2-3 steps. First and foremost is physical inspection. Real estate is not something you shop online and it's delivered to your doorstep. You have to see what you want to buy. Physical inspection is very important. You need to be sure that the property really exists.
Okay.
Yes. And then you conduct your search and investigate title. That's the next step. So if someone should market a property to you, the next thing you do is go and see the property, which we termed physical inspection, and the next thing, go and conduct your search. How do you do that? You visit the lands registry, you visit the Surveyor General's office. However, where the property is tied to an estate, like it forms part of the estate of the deceased person, then you need to take a trip to the probate registry as well.
Wow.
Yes, to ensure that the ownership is true and whatever they have on ground meets what is being marketed to you. And then also you prepare contract of sale. There must be contract of sale or what you call purchase agreements. After the signing of that and closing the signature part of the contract of sale, the next step is to prepare deed of assignment. That will be the instrument of transfer.
Wow.
Yes. So deed of assignment conveys or transfers the owner's interest onto the buyer.
The assignee, assigno.
Exactly. So you know the language already. Okay.
I've learned so much in this.
Yes.
Okay.
So and then we proceed to the registration of the title. So once the buyer takes possession, the next thing is for the buyer to go and register his or her own interest as well. So which is the registration of that title.
Doing all that, it's basically due diligence.
Absolutely.
You go there, you see,
yes.
you buy.
Mm-hmm.
What does it cost? How much do a client, a prospective buyer, how much do they pay for that service of having a lawyer, doing a search, going to the land registry? Because I understand that when you're going to the land registry or the office of the Surveyor General, you have to be also vigilant in the kind of documents that you're trying to verify.
Mm-hmm.
And also the deed of assignment, the contract of sale. Obviously, you're not doing everything for free. So how much does that cost? So the buyer would actually have it in mind that, okay, I'm going to go through these channels and I'm going to pay out this amount of money.
Okay. So for legal fees, really, legal fees is not fixed. It's not a fixed sum. Everything is percentage based, and it hovers between 5% to 10% of the value of property. That is the cost of the property. So whatever you're paying for the property, you're paying the lawyer 5% or 10% of the total sum to conduct research, to do all of that up to perfection of your title. However, the buyer will have to pay the required fees, which is not part of the legal fees of the lawyer. It is separate.
Okay, good. Now, another question that comes up is, I have a lot of listings and they tell me the title is the Governor's Consent. And the Governor's Consent, in my own layman's language, is tied to the seller of the property's name. So how do you now transfer that consent to the name of the buyer? And also, what's the process like?
Well, Governor's Consent is nothing other than the governor allowing you to transfer your interest in a property.
Okay, transfer of ownership.
Yes.
Okay.
So whatever title you have, you must obtain governor's consent before you are able to transfer. Without the governor's consent, whatever transfer you're making to a buyer is not valid. So it is the governor's consent that gives you the right to transfer your interest. And then to obtain governor's consent, there are different steps. You have to submit copies, I think about 4 copies of deed of assignment, the rules of title. There's specific fees you have to pay as well. And then you do your application, you send in your application, you pay the fees, you submit the required documents, and the processing begins. The officials of the Lands Bureau will have to inspect the property. Okay. After that, then the governor's consent is issued.
So how long does that process take?
When you're talking about how long, sometimes the bureaucratic processes delays things. So I can't specifically say, okay, you'll get it in 30 days, you get it in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. I can't say that. It depends on the officials of the government. Once you submit your application, the usual thing is that it should take 30 days, but sometimes it takes more, 6 months, 1 year, but you definitely get it.
That's what we call the bureaucratic red tape. What relevance does the C of O have to take? What relevance does it? Is it relevant in this case, or you just say, okay, I have my governor's consent, the governor has consented me to buying the land and I'm free, I'm this and that. Do you need the C of O at that point?
C of O is certificate of occupancy.
Okay.
So which the governor grants to anyone to occupy a property, to take charge of a property, or be in possession for a certain number, which we all know, 99 years. So with the C of O alone, you can't transfer interest. You will still need to obtain governor's consent to be able to transfer.
Okay. Now, I saw some properties in Ikoyi, and they had the federal governor's consent. With that kind of property, do you still need a state governor's consent, or you're fine?
Going by the Land Use Act, every land in a state is vested in the governor of that state.
So whether you have a federal governor's consent, you still have to seek for the state,
because that property is situated in a particular state.
Okay.
So the Land Use Act tells us that the governor is the owner of all lands in a particular state.
I also came across another word called gazettes. What does that mean?
That's the official document of a state, and it also exists at the federal level. So in the gazette, it's not just about properties alone, but properties gazetted actually exist and are in the know of the state government.
Okay, I'm really fired up now. So when I get a piece of land from the Omoniles, what should I expect?
If you get a piece of land from the Omonile
land,
Omonile will always be Omonile.
Risky business.
Yes, okay. They are the owners of the land. There's nothing you can do. You have to keep appeasing them. They are gods that you have to keep appeasing, despite the fact that they will issue you purchase receipts, you go through all the processes and to obtain your title and all of that. But they will always exist. But just ensure that when you're dealing with Omonile, you're not dealing with them directly.
Okay.
Yes, you need the intervention of a lawyer.
Okay,
to
because
deal with all of that.
I've seen some properties that you buy the land, they come. You put the foundation, they come. You want to paint, they come. You want to do decking,
you see
come.
them.
When will they stop coming? When does it end? Because there's some innocent buyers that have some aunties, uncles that take them somewhere. At the end of the day, they fall into the hands of Omonile. Omonile might have sold the land to like a gazillion people.
Absolutely.
And so what is the solution in that case?
If I'm to tell you the truth, there's no solution to Omonile matter.
Okay.
There's no solution to it. That's the truth. Even though the land user vests all lands in the governor, some people are actually the owners of that land.
Okay.
And these are the Omonile. So you mentioned that when you want to lay the foundation, they come. Yes, because that's why they are Omonile. Whatever development you want to do on their land, even though they have sold their interest, yes, their interest is transferred to another person, they still believe that the land belongs to their forefathers, their great whatever, and it will always come. So for any development, you just keep aside a sum just to ensure that they allow you do whatever you want to do smoothly. But on the other side of it is that you ensure that whatever dealings you have with Omonile, ensure you have your purchase receipt from the right source. There's always the principal members of the family, and all of these people you must ensure that they sign your deed of assignment. The right person issues your purchase receipts for you, and then that covers you.
How do we know the right person
in the family?
In the family.
Well, you need to do your investigation.
Wow.
Yes, it takes a lot, but you need to do your investigation.
So, are there people that do that kind of investigation? Are they people we can employ to do that kind of investigation for us?
I'm sure within the family, they will always tell you, this is our Olorieri, this is the person we relate to. So within that family, you will always have one person that will always want to lean towards the buyer just for some extra coins.
Right.
So from such a person, you can get all the facts that you need, but all the same, you still need to be very careful.
I look in Lagos and I see estates. Do they have a joint COO in those estates, or does each house have its own independent COO?
So for estates like that, there's something called global COO. So that is the COO that covers the entire land of the estate. So each individual person it operates something like a sublease.
Mm-hmm.
That's the interest they have.
Piece of the pie.
Yes.
Everybody has a piece
exactly.
But I drive through estates and I'm wondering something that will tie them together and everything. Okay. So that's something a lot of diasporans should actually bear in mind.
Yes.
So now the process of transfer, how do we resolve disputes or issues that arise during a transaction?
Relating to land. Where disputes occur, the first step is to try and embrace mediation, to talk about it. Embrace mediation, but where the issue cannot be resolved through mediation, then you approach the law court, the court with the competent jurisdiction to resolve it. Oh. Yes. And the high courts are vested with the jurisdiction relating to land matters.
I know I've taken a lot of your time, but I still have one more question. What are the consequences of not complying with the legal requirements of property transactions in Nigeria?
Where you do not comply, you stand a lot of risk. First and foremost, Where you need the property to obtain a loan or you want to get a mortgage, your property cannot stand as collateral. As well. And secondly, in the event of demolition by state authorities, you risk, not payment of compensation. So only lands with properties with registered titles get compensation from such demolition activities.
Talking about compensation, the properties that were delivered on the bank areas in the quarter, were there any chances of them being compensated?
If they have their registered titles, they will be compensated. And it's one thing that Lagos State is known for is that Lagos State will always compensate where you have valid documents. The documents or the property rather is validly registered. So definitely, Lagos State pays compensation. It may take a while, but they will eventually pay.
Because I know that the rail going through Lagos State has they've taken off people's residences and they've been compensated. And I also know that some landlords have been compensated, but they still rented out the property. So what does the tenant have? The landlord has collected compensation. He knows his property is going to be demolished. It's going to be compensated, and he still goes ahead out of it to rent out that property, be it a room, be it a toilet. He still rents it out. What does that tenant have at stake?
Well,
I mean, they have a lot at stake. They are not.
Yes.
Because what's the result? What do they?
In such a situation, the tenant can actually hold the landlord in the lockout to get their money back because he knew that the property will be demolished, or maybe he will have been. But most times, before compensation, the property will have been demolished. But where it is not, then they are entitled to refund of the money paid.
Wow. So, thank you very much, Barrister Yewande Deji Omotayo. She's a pity barrister, isn't she? Anyway, now we know the do's and don'ts from a legal perspective. And for my fellow Nigerians in diaspora that want to come home to have a property here, you can go back to my diasporian blog and also merge it with this one and have full knowledge of what you need to do to get a property with ease. Thank you for viewing my channel today. I'll appreciate you if you will subscribe and like. My name is Taiwan.